Nice coverage of the Dutch football competition. PEC Zwolle against Ajax tonight here in Zwolle. It's very funny to be here because PEC is fighting to stay in the Premier Division, but they are making a lot of fun here in this stadium. And Ajax, well, they are a little in trouble. Have to play tomorrow night against Olympique Marseille. That's not the trouble, but they were losing against RKC in the Dutch Cup. Let's take a look how everything is going here in Zwolle, but there is other news here from Holland. There's punishment for Ronald Koeman for 3 matches. He's not allowed to play in the European Cup. And that's a shame because he can play tomorrow night against Real Madrid. And there's a lot of more rumors around Johan Cruyff going to Barcelona or staying here in Holland. Talking about Johan Cruyff, we are going to Peter van der Waard. Peter, Johan Cruyff was trying to build up a new club. We have a lot of good players here from Holland. I thought maybe that's something for Peter van der Waard because you are scoring a lot of important goals here in Zwolle.
Yeah, the idea was very good. I've been told that it was a very good plan, and but I also heard that the region of Zwolle was not so good for a top club.
For a top club.
Yeah, and so they decided to choose Utrecht.
But maybe in the future the plan of Johan Cruyff will succeed. Now let's talk about PEC Zwolle. I already said PEC is in trouble because you have to fight to stay in the Premier Division, but it seems that PEC is going to the First Division, especially when you're losing tonight.
Yeah, I think tonight it's very important because, well, the result of yesterday, AZ against Twente, was not so good for us. AZ won, and I think when we want to stay close to the other teams who are also in danger, we have to win tonight.
Yeah, what's the feeling here in Zwolle? You can survive, or
it's a little bit doubting. Some people say, well, they manage it, but others say, well, it will be very hard to succeed in staying in the Premier Division.
That's a shame because it's a great accommodation over here, eh?
Yeah, and I think when you look at our team, it's unbelievable that we are playing so low because every game we play well, but the last few games we didn't have any luck anymore. We make goals against Utrecht. We lead in front with 2-0, and last 20 minutes we lose. Against Den Haag we are leading with 1-0, and we also lose.
That's bad luck.
Yeah.
Do you miss Mr. Adriaanse, the former coach over here, or not?
Well, I think it's a good trainer, and it was a pity he was going away, but yeah, this trainer is also a quite good trainer. But yeah, I think the most important thing is that the luck has to
come back.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
How many goals can we count on from Mr. van der Waard tonight?
Well, I hope 5 or 6, but I think I'm very glad when I score 1 goal.
Okay, Peter. Okay. Take care of yourself and see you after the match. That was Mr. Peter van der Waard. And let's go to the camp of Ajax, because I think there is something happening too. Well, and here is Peter Larsson. Hi, Peter. After a bad game against RKC, playing against PEC Zwolle, who's in trouble? Again, a fighting club, I think.
Yeah, I heard they have a lot of trouble, but yeah, we play a really bad game against RKC.
You can't say that.
So we want to have revenge today. We play a good game, but the field is not so good, so it's going to be a tough fight, I think.
And a good warming up for next Wednesday for your play against Olympique Marseille?
Yeah, of course, for us is that the most important game just now.
It seems that there are coming 2 new players, Ron Willems from the FC Twente and Hans Werdekker from Willem II. You know them?
Yeah, I know them. So it's good players.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have missed a lot of players, so we need them.
Okay, Richard Wits is playing tonight?
Yeah, he's playing.
Okay, good luck.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And this is the moment. The match is going to start here in Zwolle, a very nice stadium. And one of the tribunes is called the Johan Cruyff Tribune, so maybe that's why. Martin Tyler is on that tribune and he is doing his commands for the match between PEC Zwolle, fighting to stay in the Premier Division, and Ajax, well, preparing themselves for the match against Olympique Marseille. Martin, go ahead.
Yes, Ajax out of the Dutch Cup, where officially they were represented by their second team, but it was a strange situation. Second place in the table, however, is very much secure. But there's nothing at all secure about PEC's place in the Premier Division. It has been a drastic slide over the second half of the season. Only 1 win in their last 9 games, and yet they started the season so well. After last week's defeat by fellow strugglers Den Haag, 3 changes for PEC. In come Alex Boy, Kamstra and De Gunst. Peter van der Vaart is the leading scorer with 9 goals. As for Ajax, there's no Bosman, no Muren or Danny Blind. There are chances again for Scholten and Henny Meyer to stake their claims, and for 18-year-old Richard Witschke to operate alongside his 21-year-old brother, Rob. The referee is Chris van der Laar, who's now on the international panel of Dutch referees. And he has to blow the whistle straight away because it was a crunching challenge by Fred Patrick on Johnny van Schip. A sign of PEC's intentions here. Anything other than a win is a disaster. And although Ajax do have the European competition certainly at the back of their minds, they're a very professional outfit, they're very talented, and they'll take some beating. You heard Peter Larsen complaining about the quality underfoot. Certainly the ball isn't likely to run true on every part of the pitch. When these two teams met in Amsterdam, Ajax won 6-4. So maybe that's an encouraging sign. The circumstances were very different then, of course. Larsen jumping with Van der Vaart. Bergkamp. Dum was in very quickly, the left-back for PEC. Ajax in the change strip, of course, of all blue. Beaten 5 times in the league this season. But their recent league form has been pretty solid. Dum takes the free kick. Patrick tries to get a foot in, and Aaron Winter couldn't stop the ball running back out of play. Boy, calmly done. Alex Kamstra wearing number 3 in his second spell with the club, and Menzo always wanting to come out and act as an outfield player. He's very talented in that respect too. There are plenty of good judges in Holland who feel that Stanley Menzo could have made a career as a professional away from the goal. And he had to come out smartly there because Ajax do hold this square line at the back, and there's always the danger of them getting caught by the quick through ball. Dum with a huge throw, tremendous distance. One back by Boy. Here's 19-year-old Van Ankeren, and that's tremendous handling by Menzo, showing perhaps why he concentrated on his goalkeeping. Van Ankeren whipped it in. It was a testing cross, and the handling had to be spot on. Any fumble would have led to a goal. The Witschke brothers in tandem. This is Rob. Very much the hero of the Ajax win against Olympique Marseille in France in the first leg of the semi-final of the Cup Winners' Cup. 2 goals for Rob Witschke in that game in the 3-0 win. That seems to have made the second leg a formality. No formalities here, though. It's a buccaneering start by PEC, and that's Patrick. Van Ankeren was well watched in the middle. And Kamstra in trouble here against Rob Witschke. He's held him off. But suddenly he's emerged into a real goal-scoring threat, Rob Witschke. Van Schip with the corner. Richard Witschke. Oh. Well, the brothers both with gifted left feet. And not to be upstage, the younger Richard connected very cleanly. That was close. So Rob Vichka's corner. The goalkeeper's come a long way. Het Abma took it cleanly and cleared it long onto the head of Larsen. Bergkamp charged down by Doom, who stayed forward. And there's a sense of urgency about Ajax's defending. It was Verlaat who came across. De Gunst. And it's cleverly weighted to the run of Van Ankeren, who's working across the width of the pitch at the moment. And Van der Vaart, well, it looked a howler. But to remind you again about the bumps on the pitch, and even gifted strikers like Van der Vaart can be deceived. Encouraging though for PEC that they're making half chances. And there's a foul there by Scholten on Van der Vaart, who's a real nomad. AZ, Haarlem, Den Bosch, Utrecht, before he linked up with PEC Zwolle'. He's still only 25, and this young man is only 19, Edwin Doom. And Menzo loves coming off his line, but you have to get there when you go that far. Van Ankeren wasn't quite sure, hit back by Yusudag, and Menzo was there on the retreat. In any case, the shot from Yusudag, who did have a short spell with Ajax. He wasn't quite able to score against his old club, but Van Ankeren turned, and then maybe that second touch before he hit it with his left foot was one touch too many. And Yusudag couldn't catch Menzo out. Van Skip staying on the right. Oh, and there's a mistake by Winter, and it's Van Ankeren with a real chance for PEC. Menzo's done well, the danger not over yet. And finally, Verlaat puts it behind for the corner. And Verlaat looks at Aaron Winter, it was his error. Van Ankeren kept his head, fired away, but Menzo kept his shape and refused to be beaten. All credit to the goalkeeper. But at a time when PEC really need a goal, I wonder at the end of the 90 minutes whether they'll look back on that as a costly miss by Van Ankeren. Patrick takes the corner. Menzo's there again. A more straightforward task this time. And I wonder whether he just got a little cuff round the ear from a passing opponent. That shot seemed to indicate it. Patrick, who's been very conspicuous for PEC so far in his industry in midfield and his willingness to support the front men. Richard Vichka. Now Verlaat, who came to prominence at the back end of last season and seems to have timed his re-emergence again to coincide with possible European final, but he's caught here by Van Ankeren. He's got Van der Vaart up in the middle. Ajax stopped expecting offside. The flag stayed down and PEC lead. And Peter Van der Vaart has done it again with the help of a jubilant Van Ankeren. But the real question was, should the linesman have raised the flag? Menzo clearly thinks so. Yusudag played it wide to Boy. That's the moment of contact. And as we look back, we don't really see the full back line for Ajax, and I just wonder whether Arnold Scholten on this near side might have been the culprit. The linesman had no doubt. Go on, he said. Van Ankeren did just that and had the presence of mind here to see Van der Vaart and to find him. And that's 1-0. Well, Ajax have had their trials and tribulations away from home this season. That's really been the difference between them and PSV in that great rivalry at the top. And they're trailing away from home again. Larsen. Van Skip, the captain. Henny Meyer really surrounded by opponents in the middle. Verlaat, who really does look a most composed young player. And PEC look to get it forward quickly again, and Van Ankeren is full of running. It's quick, it's direct, and my word, at the moment, it's effective. A beleaguered goalkeeper. PEC Zwolle started the season with 9 points out of the first 12 available, and were up amongst the leaders. They parted company a few months ago now with Co Adriaanse, the coach, over the sale of a player. And it's really been downhill ever since. But they're back on song in this game. And an optimistic shout for a penalty. More from the crowd than from the players. One back by Peleboer, but only momentarily. Here's Winter. Meyer. Rob Witschke. Now Richard Witschke. They are two peas from the same pod. It's an Ajax corner. And just looking at Henny Meyer a moment or two ago, as we look at Richard Witschke here on camera, but Henny Meyer scored a lot of goals in the first part of the season, got into double figures, but has scarcely had a look in since, and when he has been in the side, the chances have fallen his way. He hasn't been able to take them. And he can't get there before the goalkeeper, Abmar. Played out by Peleboer. Across comes Jan Wouters with a neat piece of covering. And doing likewise for PEC, Alex Kamstra. Just left for one season where he played for Go Ahead, 84-85, and has been back here since then, Alex Kamstra. The goalkeeper is only 22, Abmar. Ajax in this position again where they're short of defenders. Scholten, naturally a midfield player, playing at right back. Larsen, who has this shoulder problem, having to play in the middle of the defence. He'll have an operation in the summer, it seems. That was a body check there by Boy on Rob Witschke. A straightforward decision, an indirect free kick. And it was a diving save by Abmar that protected the PEC lead. Wouters again. Larsen, who moves forward with such menace. Here's Bergkamp. Van Skip. Verlaat, who scored in the last two league games for Ajax, getting in a useful cross, and again, fair to Abmar. Shows up well in this pressure-filled situation for PEC Zwolle. It's half-time, and a great first half for the team in trouble near the bottom. Embroidered with a goal from Peter van der Vaart.
Yes, Martin, and tonight it seems that we will have the continuing story of Mr. Peter van der Vaart. Let's talk to him. It's unbelievable, because we were talking before the game. Peter, before the game we were talking that you were scoring a lot of goals. And well, it's 1-0 and a goal of you.
Yeah, one, but maybe it's not enough, so we have to go on.
Okay, so you promise us another goal in the second half?
I hope so.
Okay, Peter. And this was part 1 of the Dutch football competition here. The match between PEC Zwolle and Ajax, 1-0. Join us after the break for more action here from Zwolle. Great that you are back with us, Sky Channel, Europe's #1 for part 2 of the Sky's coverage of the Dutch football competition. A good game here in Zwolle. PEC Zwolle against Ajax, 1-0 for PEC Zwolle. And Martin Tyler, tell us all about the second half.
Well, I can tell you that PEC played very well in the first half and that they've staged the night very well here too. But the players anxious to let battle recommence as the band takes its bow and gets a deserved round of applause for entertaining us during the half-time interval. The worry for PEC Zwolle's fans, as we note that Ajax do have a substitute on for the second half. 19-year-old Richard Snakers has replaced Dennis Bergkamp. But the problem for PEC, as I was saying, is that they've been in front in recent games. They were 2 up against Utrecht, and that was pulled back to 2-2. They led Den Haag and lost 2-1. They just can't afford to relax their grip here. Pelleboer. Booted forward by Larsen. Well, Henny Myers hardly seen a sight of the PEC goal. Ajax really have created very little. Van der Vaart. Dispossessed fairly enough by Scholten, and then he in turn by Usedag. Boy. Very impressive Edwin van Ankeren over the first 45 minutes. Snakers. Wouters. Also having to play at the back at the moment for Ajax, with Ronald Spelbos's career terminated, it seems, and now Ajax's uncertainty in their defending is exposed again, and that's handball. Menzo came bravely, but he came just too far. But for Stanley Menzo, Ajax would already be sunk in this game without trace. This is the wall that Menzo is setting. 5 in it for Ajax. And it's the number 5, Edwin Doom, who might have a crack here. Here he comes. Oh, he's hit it brilliantly. In PEC Zwolle's time of need, a 19-year-old has found a splendid free kick here. Too hot for Menzo. And 5 minutes into the second half, they lead Ajax 2-0. Venter. Meyer making up the ground, but first there was Abmar. This match has been worth the admission price for the antics of the 2 goalkeepers. Richard Witschke. Make no mistake about it, these Ajax youngsters are very talented and they've got a lot to play for. And Menzo is helping them out in his own inimitable style. Boy. Patrick. And PEC playing like a championship-winning side at the moment. Patrick again. who was one of the scorers in that incredible 6-4 game between these two sides earlier this season. Van der Vaart. Boy. One for Menzo to keep his eye on. Well, the referee saw nothing wrong with a combined challenge on the goalkeeper. And there are plenty of people around who think that goalkeepers get too much protection. Unfortunately, not many of them are referees. Patrick, and Menzo has miskicked this time. Yusudag. It's a wonderful opportunity for PEC now, and he really should have done better, Mustafa Yusudag, because there were plenty of options in the middle. This time the foray from Menzo didn't work out. Doesn't kick it quite so well with his left foot, does he? And Yusudag bearing down now on the Ajax goal and looking for a spot of personal glory, which wasn't forthcoming. Well, Kaiser is a famous name in the history of Ajax. Pete Kaiser, of course, and a great team of the late 60s and early 70s, and it's his nephew, Marcel, who replaces Peter Larsen. Van der Vaart. Holton in the way. Wouters, that's an interesting ball. On from Meyer. Van Skip. And Aaron Winter was given a pretty free header. But it doesn't feel now as though it's going to be Ajax's night. Richard Vizca shrugging off Van der Vaart. Scholten. Well, it's really set up for Richard Vizca maybe to be the next Arnold Muren in that number 10 shirt. He's looking the part. That's a foul by Meyer. I suppose his greatest rival could be his older brother, who might prefer to drop into that role, although he's operating in a wider front in his regular berth in the team. I'm sure there'll be room for both of them. Here's Richard Vizca again, measuring the pass, like perhaps they used to do in the family back garden. Wouters. Kaiser. And the other substitute, Schnekers. John Van Skip. Cut out by Doom. Picked up by Kaiser again. PEC at the moment quite happy to just get behind the ball. And Van Skip with a trick or two to get into a shooting position then, and that was more like it from Ajax. And when Johnny Van Skip does let fly, often there are spectacular results. Pretty good effort, this one. Oh, Schnekers couldn't get there, and Meyer had the last chance, one of three Ajax boots to be waved at the ball. First of all, actually, Schnekers went in with his head. And Verlaat missed altogether, and Meyer was off target. PEC's nerves would have jangled, I'm sure, had Ajax got one back then. Pellenboer. They really have worked hard, the home side. Here's Yusudag. Nobody's worked harder than Van Ankeren. And Richard Witschke was the player who tangled with Edwin Van Ankeren. And Chris van der Laar, the referee, had a good look at it. He was well placed. And he refused to give PEC a penalty. It was a matter of intent then, I think, by Richard Witschke, or lack of it. Ari Busman adds to the number of young players on the pitch. Wearing number 16, but it's Van Ankeren, in fact, who's gone off. And a second substitution, a former Ajax junior, Bert de Meyer, who takes over from De Gunst. Wouters. Rob Witschke. Jan Wouters must feel quite an elderly gentleman in the company of the other Ajax youngsters out there, now that the two 19-year-old substitutes are on. Well, Menzo wants to take the throw-in now. I'm sure there will be some criticism levelled against Ajax for a lack of really 100% commitment. But you couldn't level that charge against Menzo. At times he's taken on the PEC attack single-handed. Well played by Doom, applauded by his goalkeeper. Pelleboer going the wrong way. Richard Witschke. Well, when there has been a gap for Ajax, PEC have managed to shut the door in their faces. Rob Witschke in a hurry to take the corner. And pulled in again expertly by Admar. Well deserving the reaction from the crowd. You feel that Menzo wants to go and play up front. It's a good header by Veldwijk. Winter. And Doom doing everything right. Van der Vaart, Patrick. Well, PEC really can take their time, but Van der Vaart was fouled. He scorned the back pass, but settled happily for the free kick. PEC were last relegated in 1985. They came straight back the following season and finished 11th in the Premier Division last season. The neatness and the technique of Ajax hasn't counted for a great deal here. The more committed side leads by 2-0. And oh dear, oh that's brilliant. Stanley Menzo. No end product for him, but 100% team man and a crowd pleaser to boot. Ajax, though, are beaten now just a matter of the time that Chris van der Laar wants to add on. Snakers. Simple for Admar. He's coped with greater difficulties than that, with great aplomb. And they've hardly looked like a side that have conceded on average more than 2 goals a game all season. There are a few encores being taken now by some of the PEC players. But when the reality hits them, it's only 2 points that they've got. You don't get any more for beating Ajax, even if they might feel on the terraces that you should do. Doom, whose second goal meant so much to PEC. Van der Vaart actually on the near side was clearly offside as well. Anywhere will do now to use up a few more seconds. Richard Witschke. Yusidag. Doom. Straight to Menzo. That's really putting your side back under pressure again, because Stanley will hit it long and high and hard. Onto the head of Rob Witschke. Verlaat well forward. He's capable of snatching a goal. Winter. Wouters. Verlaat. In from Richard Witschke. And although Ajax have had more of the ball over the last 10 minutes or so, they've rarely got behind PEC. It really has been a night to remember in Zwolle for the team and for their supporters. They've beaten Ajax. The free kick from Doom in the second half to add to Van der Vaart's strike in the first half.
Yes, Martin, this is the end of the match between PEC and Ajax. Barry, may I ask you something?
Of course.
Just before the Euro Cup game against Olympic Marseille, no Dutch Cup for Ajax. I think you have a lot of work to do, because what I'm seeing now, that's very bad.
Yeah, we have very much problem with the players, because we have 3 injuries. Therefore we have some other players in the team, and normally the game before a European Cup game is always a bad game for us.
It's usual for Ajax.
We had 2 times we had luck, we played at home and win 1-0. And now we lose against a team who fight for every meter.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it. We lost too much duels. Therefore we lost the game.
Don't you think that it's okay for players who are playing in Ajax 1 to be in the game just before such a European Cup game?
Everybody was before the game very convinced to do something extra, but you see it didn't work out.